You ever just play a game that makes you go, man, that was incredible! I am more than satisfied with my experience, I couldn't possibly ask for more. But then just comes a DLC expansion that makes you say, DLC is a very delicate topic. Most of the time companies tend to find any stupid excuse they can to make you spend money on the game you already paid for. Whether it be skins, weapons, items you can get in the game through normal means, or the worst case scenario, cutting off something that was clearly going to be in the game, but they decided to sell it apart just to rip you off. Yeah, nowadays it's hard to say what makes a good DLC. Personally, I think it all comes down to how satisfied you were with the overall experience and how the extra content complements all of that at a reasonable price. It's quite simple, really. If the base game is supposed to be your main dish, the DLC should be your dessert that tops it all off. So because of that, we're gonna be looking at the godliest DLC expansions ever made. This is all based on their quality, how much content they add, how they elevate the overall experience even more, and of course, if I play them myself. I think that's kinda obvious. Anyway, let's get to it! I think it's fair I start this video with the first ever DLC expansion that ever made an impression on me. Red Dead Redemption. Damn, what can I say about this game that hasn't been said already? It's fantastic! With a well-crafted world, amazing story, fun gameplay, lengthy playtime, and even a great online mode, Red Dead Redemption was a game that didn't need any more improvements. If you play it from beginning to end, you get a very rewarding and memorable experience. Yet, take in mind, this game released in 2010, the era where zombies were the craze and you could find them in every single piece of media. Well, someone at Rockstar probably thought it was a good idea to put zombies in Red Dead Redemption, and quite frankly, it was a good idea! Here we have Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. This alternate universe features a single-player campaign that takes protagonist John Marston all over the land in an effort to find a cure for the zombie plague, with him visiting towns and meeting old faces and how they're dealing with the undead that attack them. There's plenty more missions, more weapons, more outfits, random encounters, and that's not all! If you go to the online multiplayer, you also get exclusive skins and an extremely fun zombie survival mode. But my favorite part about this DLC is that there's not just zombies roaming around. You can also find mythological creatures, you can tame the 4 horses of the apocalypse, and even a goddamn unicorn! You can hunt the chupacabra! One of the story characters is an Aztec goddess! And my favorite of them all is the Sasquatch. This is single-handedly one of the most memorable missions in the entire game. Not just because Rockstar made it by being fully aware of the myths surrounding Bigfoot in GTA San Andreas, but because the ending actually leaves a very strong impact in you. It's phenomenal. This DLC is so damn cool, it makes you wish that Rockstar still made extra content of this caliber once again. But we know that won't happen. They're already swimming in money by selling shortcuts to kids in GTA Online. But hey, at least this DLC is still very accessible nowadays. Indie games are great! It's so cool when you play one of them and you can easily tell what inspired it. You play Shovel Knight, oh yeah, this is like Mega Man and DuckTales. You play Hollow Knight, damn, I feel the Metroid and Zelda 2 inspirations coming out of it. Pizza Tower, they outright admit it was inspired by Wario Land 4. But what happens when an indie game has a collaboration with the game that inspired it? Let me show you Dead Cells Return to Castlevania. An incredible DLC that isn't just a wonderful expansion to the already fun Dead Cells. It's also the best Castlevania game we've gotten in more than 10 years. It's impressive how natural this crossover feels. It's more than just a Castlevania coat of paint. It expands on the gameplay of Dead Cells while also being a love letter to Castlevania fans. They blend so naturally that the latter feels like an official product Konami would have done back when they were competent and respected by many. You get a plethora of new weapons, with all of them working similarly like how they did in Castlevania. From crosses, Bibles, holy water, the vampire killer, Alucard's shield, and much more. You can explore the outskirts of Dracula's castle and even the castle itself. battle iconic enemies such as werewolves, Medusa, mermen, Calacaschidas, and have epic encounters against Death and Dracula. You can unlock skins that make you look like the Belmonts and their allies, and to top it all off, you get new reimagined Castlevania songs with the option to change the entire game's soundtrack with over 50 iconic Castlevania tracks. Oh, and one extra detail that I love so much is that if you get the physical version of Dead Cells Castlevania, you get an awesome reversible cover that changes depending on the console. The Switch version gives you an NES cover reminiscent of the classic games, while the PlayStation 4 version pays homage to Symphony of the Night. It's very nice to see how even to this day Castlevania is still in the minds of many, and this DLC is proof that there's always gonna be developers who still care about this series. Except Konami themselves. Not a single day passes in which I don't pray for their downfall.
Thank you all for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.
Monster Hunter is a franchise that is no stranger to DLC, expansions, and DLC expansions. I cannot speak for the older games since I sadly couldn't get into them. But at least I can talk about the modern entries, Monster Hunter World and Rise. Both were games that I adored so much by the time they released. It was amazing to finally play one of these games, hunt together with my friends, enjoy every single encounter, learning different weapons. They helped me to discover the joys of, well, monster hunting. And eventually both entries got their DLC expansions, which were so good! New areas, more equipment, and above all, more monsters. Both were worth the price and easily double my playtime in each game. But if I had to choose only one, I feel that Iceborne from Monster Hunter World has the edge over Rise's Sunbreak. I mean, don't misunderstand, Sunbreak was good. I actually like how you could have NPCs join your hunts. The extra monsters were of course a welcome addition, and if I had to choose, I actually prefer Marcelo over Velcana as a flagship monster. But I don't know, when I look back at it, Iceborne was just so magical to me. First of all, I have a preference over snow areas in video games, and yeah, this expansion revolving all around that definitely plays a role in this. But more than that, Monster Hunter World is a gorgeous game by default, so that made the new snow area so much fun to explore and so beautiful to look at. The extra gameplay mechanics, such as the Clutch Claw, were also very good additions in my opinion. Iceborne was also the first game that introduced me to the Master Rank missions, which showed me that I still had a lot to learn about the game. But also, it introduced me to new incredible monsters that to this day I still remember, for better or worse. The Nargacuga, whose armor and weapons are some of my favorites. The Glavenus and Brachydios, which are some of the coolest monsters I've seen in my life. The Tigrex and Berioth, which left an impression on me due to how much I hate them. The majestic Sinogre, and the absolute terror that was fighting a Rajang for the first time. Remember, World was the first Monster Hunter game that I played. So fighting these monsters after all the stories my friends would tell me about them, it left a strong impact on me. And that's what gives Iceborne the advantage over Sunbreak. I don't know if the overall Monster Hunter fanbase considers these expansions to be good. I know they both had flaws and some of its choices divided a few people. But take in mind, at least for me, they double my playtime on each entry. Isn't that a sign of a good DLC expansion? Yeah, I think it is. Has it ever happened to you that you play a DLC expansion and it makes you think, man, this is so good, I actually like this more than the main game? Well, Monolith Soft has managed to make plenty of people say this not once, but twice in a row. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna, the Golden Country, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed. I already made a video about Torna, the Golden Country, and from a gameplay standpoint, everything I said there can be applied to Future Redeemed. Both expansions retain the core gameplay of their respective games, but with a few small changes that keep them challenging, engaging, and fun. The adventures are a bit more streamlined, and the pacing in both of them is really good, for the most part. Each expansion takes around 20 hours to beat, but that might actually be a good thing. Xenoblade 2 and 3 are incredible, sure, beasts of games with tons of classes, builds, areas, and very long stories. You need to commit to them if you want to squeeze as much as you can from them. But their expansions are so straightforward that I've actually seen people prefer them over the base games. I know of some who hate 2 but really love Torna. Actually, myself, I do prefer Future Redeem over Xenoblade 3. Guess you can say that.
I'm feeling full of beans.
Hell, even my roommate feels the same, and he's one of the most passionate Xenoblade fans that I know. But the best part about these expansions is their stories. Torna is one of the most heartbreaking games you'll ever play. It's one of those stories where you know what's gonna happen, the main game outright spoils it to you, but you grow so attached to the characters and the world that you wish that there was a way to make things different. But no, it happens exactly as they told you it would, and when it does... Future Redeem stands out due to the insane amount of fanservice it has, merging together the best of the 3 games, going as far as bringing the previous protagonists Rex and Shulk back for one more adventure. And more than the fanservice, it's how it connects these games in such a great way that it makes it a fantastic conclusion to the Cloud saga. Literally my only complaint about these DLC expansions is that they were so damn good that I wish they had been longer. The worlds you explore, the characters you meet, and the music? It's so amazing! Never forget that Xenoblade Chronicles fans always hit good. Before I move on to the godliest DLC expansion I've ever played, let me also bring up other expansions that are also incredible but barely made it to the list for one or two reasons. The noise update for Pizza Tower. This one didn't make it to the list because, dude, I already have an entire bit about it, like, come on! Let's give the spotlight to other games, but yeah, I have to mention this at least. If you wanna know more, just check out the video I made about it. It's seriously one of the craziest DLC characters ever made. Playable Jetstream Sam and Blade Wolf from Metal Gear Rising. Giving their own mini-stories to 2 of the most beloved characters in the game? Sure, how much will that be?
Nothing. It's for free. Free?
Both Sam and Blade Wolf are incredible as they came with their own movesets, challenges, bosses, and even music, bringing a complete new experience to Metal Gear Rising that was so much fun to play. The only bad thing about them is that they are super short, each campaign lasting less than an hour, and yeah, I know I can't complain much because they were free, and Metal Gear Rising is also a short game, but dude, these 2 characters were so damn fun, I wish they had at least been playable in the main campaign. Fire Emblem Three Houses, Cinder Shadows. This one is a bit on the mixed side among fans, but personally, I really liked it. It was so cool to play a modern Fire Emblem story with limited resources and barely any customization. It made all encounters tense and challenging while also making each unit feel important. This was also the expansion to add the Ashen Wolves to the game, which are all awesome, with Yuri himself becoming one of my favorite Fire Emblem characters of all time. And this DLC alone was good enough to make me do a full playthrough of the main game. That's pretty impressive actually. Banjo-Kazooie in Smash Bros. I don't know if this can be considered an expansion since it's only one character in a fighting game, but at least it's DLC, so I'll include 2. You guys have probably seen my react when this was revealed. This is easily the most important addition Smash Bros ever made to me. It was literally my childhood dream becoming a reality. Yeah, I know some people didn't exactly enjoy their movesets, but to me they were perfect. Their inclusion was so good that after that all I could think was, I don't care who gets in anymore, I got exactly what I wanted. I can't ask for more. And finally we have a perfect game with a near-perfect DLC expansion. Lost Judgment, The Kaito Files. This DLC is so incredible, dude! Kaito is easily one of the most likable characters in the entire Yakuza series, and having him as the main character only elevated him even further. His story is filled with so much drama, tension, plot twist and excitement, while having one of the most evil antagonists in the entire series. His gameplay is also really good, striking a perfect balance of risk and reward. This DLC's only flaw is, you guessed it, it's really short, and it's a bit frustrating because the story is incredible, Kaito is amazing, and all the new characters are very memorable. but there's no sub-stories and you only get access to the most basic minigames. You're left with this feeling of, dude, you tease me with Pick Fiction again and leave me wanting for more? Not cool, man. But you can also see that as a good thing. It speaks lengths on how incredible this DLC expansion is. It proves to everyone that even if Yagami doesn't return in, I don't know, Judgment 3? Lost and Found Judgment? Kaito is more than capable of carrying an entire story on his own. But let's be fair, best case scenario, hopefully the next Judgment game will let us play as both Yagami and Kaito. So let's hope we are in a good timeline where that happens. Anyway, it's time I present to you what is, in my eyes, the greatest DLC expansion I've ever played! This DLC goes back to one of the first videos I ever made. One that became so special to me that I had to make an entire episode dedicated to it. Splatoon 2, the Octo expansion. Let me give you some quick context. Back when the first Splatoon game released, I hated it! Why? No reason at all. I was a teenager who used to believe that popular thing bad. Some years later, a friend gifted me a copy of Splatoon 2 and come on, it was a gift, so of course I had to give it a try. I fully played the story and I even tried some online matches with my friends. And sure, my opinion of the series was more neutral now. But one day, Nintendo released the Octo expansion and another friend of mine gifted it to me. He basically said, Luis, I'm begging you, play this and have your entire opinion turn around. So I played it, did every level, every challenge, saw the credits, I did the super boss and by the end of it all I could think was... Splatoon 2, the Octo expansion, is a masterpiece. It takes every single aspect, every single mechanic that makes Splatoon so unique from other shooters, and creates one of the most tightly designed experiences Nintendo has ever made. Over 80 levels, all of them testing your skills in different ways, with a high skill ceiling in later challenges, a surprisingly shocking story where you can't predict what will happen next, one of the craziest but also coolest aesthetics in Nintendo's history, and did I mention how great the soundtrack is? Do I need to go crazy about how excellent the final boss is? The Octo expansion bursts with so much style and personality that it is, without a doubt, much better than the main campaign. Hell, even better than Splatoon 3's story mode, which borrows a lot from the Octo expansion. I once made a second Switch account to replay this DLC because it is that good of an experience. And more than being a high quality product, it's also what it means to me. For years, I was one of Splatoon's biggest haters. I was angry for no reason at all, and because of that, I missed on what could have been a great time during the Wii U era. It took a few years, but this DLC was so magical that it completely eliminated my hatred for the franchise. And while Splatoon isn't exactly what I will call one of my favorite game series of all time, the Octo expansion achieved so much that I can call it the greatest DLC expansion ever made. However, that doesn't mean it can't be dethroned. There's still a lot of fantastic DLC expansions I've yet to play, like Bloodborne, The Old Hunters, The Witcher 3, Blood and Wine, Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course, and Resident Evil, The End of Zoe, and Separate Ways. I've heard nothing but great things about them, just, haven't had the opportunity, or time, or money to play them. But hey, you never know, that might change in the future. Anyway, now it's time to tell me, which DLC expansions are your favorites out there? Please let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, thank you so much for your time. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to support the Game Shelf, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, or Patreon, that will mean so much to me. Have a wonderful day, and take care! I'll see you next time!